Hello everyone and welcome to this week's session. Today we will delve into the topic of nature conservation and how is this effort shared across the world. In this presentation, we aim to introduce nature conservation, discuss what and why should we protect nature, how we can achieve that, and at the end we'll have a discussion and reflection of nature conservation. Before we further delve into this topic, I would like you to think more about your own understanding of nature conservation. In what terms do you think about nature conservation? Have you seen, heard, or contributed to any conservation activities? How have these influenced the way you think about your daily activities? And what impact our simple lives have on the environment? This is the technical definition of nature conservation. It is a conservation movement focused on protecting species from extinction, maintaining and restoring habitats, enhancing ecosystem services, and protecting biological diversity. Now, why is it important to do this? Can you think of any endangered habitats, species, or places in the world? Here, we compiled a set of animals that went extinct in 2019. That is only 1 year in which species that developed over millions of years disappeared. Firstly, the Sumatran rhino. The last Sumatran rhino in Malaysia passed away in November 2019, making the extremely rare species locally extinct. The rhino was named Iman and she died due to cancer. The death of Iman made the species critically endangered, with less than 80 Sumatran rhinos left all over the world, primarily in Indonesia. Currently, Sumatran rhinos are the smallest rhino species in the world. Secondly, the Chinese paddlefish. Chinese paddlefish is one of the largest freshwater fishes in the world, and it was most commonly found in the Yangtze River in Asia. Several surveys failed to locate the species' presence, and so it was declared extinct in December 2019. The species is speculated to be extinct due to overfishing and habitat fragmentation. The species became endangered between 2005 to 2010 and then eventually died out in 2019. Next, the Yangtze giant soft-shelled turtle. The last known female of this rare species, named Shang Shang, died in an artificial insemination process in April 2019. Apart from Shang Shang, only 3 known soft-shelled turtles are alive today in the world. After the last female turtle passed away, the species became effectively extinct. Next, the Indian cheetah. In 2019, it was stated that the Indian cheetah, along with 3 other species, is now extinct in India due to desertification. The numbers dropped down to 150 and eventually the species died out. This intense desertification was caused due to the excessive use of pesticides and heavy industrialization in agricultural areas. The report also showed that this desertification had a negative impact on the entire food chain. Another species, the Spix macaw, it's a rare bird species which was primarily found in Brazil before it went extinct. The last sighting of the bird was in 2016 and it was declared as extinct a few years later. Though the species is deemed extinct in the wild, it was conserved in wildlife sanctuaries in northeast Brazil. The government has also made the decision of bringing the Spix macaw back in existence. Another extinct species is the Catarina pupfish, a freshwater fish found in Mexico. The species got extinct when their natural habitat got disrupted due to groundwater extraction. The fish was living in the wild until 1994, but due to the rapid loss, the species was moved to captivity. It survived until 2012 and then got completely extinct in 2019. Lastly, the Indo-Chinese tiger. The species was mainly found in Southeast Asia before it became critically endangered. Its numbers reduced to 1,500 and then eventually the species became extinct. The species is completely extinct in the wild, but there are a few tigers that are living in captivity. It is completely wiped out in Cambodia, and the largest number of tigers is now residing in Thailand. The main reason for its extinction is hunting and poaching. According to a lot of media and UN reports, the world is on track to lose 2/3 of its wildlife population by the end of 2020. Even common wildlife species like koala bears are now prone to extinction because of the Australian bushfires, which happen due to climate change in the area. Reports suggest that the loss of wildlife would have a heavily negative impact on human life and the entire ecosystem. Following up, we are going to be looking at an endangered habitat. A huge clear-up is taking place on Mount Everest as the climbing season starts. Tons of old equipment, rubbish, and human waste litter the world's highest mountain. Helicopters are being used to bring down the trash, which includes oxygen tanks, tents, eating utensils, and other camping materials. Before 2017, around 16 tons of rubbish has been removed from the mountain, but it's not known how much is still up there. Thus, the world's highest peak has been struggling with escalating levels of rubbish for years as the number of visitors rises. This year's cleanup efforts will also try to remove the bodies of mountaineers who have died in the so-called death zone above 18,000 meters, where the air is too thin to sustain life for long. Due to the cold and high altitude, these bodies often remain on the mountain for years or even decades. The topic of the Amazonian forest has been vastly discussed, so we will not go into it anymore, but it is important to mention that it is positioned in an underdeveloped economic area, which leaves it open to grave environmental injustices, despite the international effort. Global sea level is caused by the melting of ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica and the expansion of seawater as it heats up. In 1989, a United Nations report stated that the Tuvalu would vanish in the 21st century unless global warming was drastically reduced. Small island states have not been responsible for the damaging greenhouse gas emissions, but are suffering the consequences, and this is a huge matter of environmental justice. How do you think we can tackle these issues? Again, we are talking about different levels of involvement, individual, national, or international. Here are some examples of what you can do, but beware, those are just common ideas. You can refuse to buy animal-made products such as ivory or fur, because the refuse to buy is the refuse to hurt. You can also help establish and fund animal or nature reserves. Lastly, you can reduce carbon emissions to slow down climate change. For example, you can make use of public transportation as much as possible, or encourage people to invest in electric vehicles. The goal of true nature conservation will be achieved when everyone enjoys the same degree of protection from environmental and health hazards and equal access to the decision-making process. We wish for everyone to enjoy the same opportunities and be equally respected in terms of how the environmental changes are tackled internationally. This is all for today. Thank you for watching.